Have you ever woken up and felt like your own body betrayed you overnight? The joints that once moved freely now feel stiff, swollen, and uncooperative, especially after 40, when recovery slows and discomfort lingers longer than it used to. You stretch, you walk, you try to ignore it, yet something deeper whispers that this is not just aging. It is not just wear and tear, it is a signal. Chronic joint pain after 40? The hormone and inflammation connection explained is not just a title. It is a doorway into understanding that your body is not failing you. It is communicating with you. As estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone gradually decline, the natural anti-inflammatory shield that once protected your joints begins to thin. These hormones are not merely reproductive messengers, they are regulators of immune balance, inflammation control, and tissue repair. When their levels shift, the immune system can become more reactive, more alert, more inflammatory. What once would have been a minor irritation can now ignite swelling, stiffness, and persistent discomfort. Inflammation, in its healthy form, is protection. It is the body's emergency response team, arriving quickly to repair damage. But when hormonal stability weakens, that response can become exaggerated, lingering longer than necessary, slowly eroding joint tissue instead of restoring it. This is why so many people notice that aches feel sharper, recovery takes longer, and flare-ups become more frequent in midlife. The body is not broken, it is adapting to a new internal environment. And here's the empowering truth: adaptation can be guided. When you understand that declining hormones influence immune signaling, and that immune signaling drives inflammation, you begin to see the chain reaction. Estrogen, for example, has been shown to modulate inflammatory cytokines, those chemical messengers that tell immune cells when to activate and when to stand down. Testosterone supports muscle integrity and tissue repair, providing stability to joints that rely on surrounding strength for protection. As these hormones diminish, inflammatory signals may rise unchecked, creating a background hum of low-grade inflammation that quietly affects mobility. This is not a sentence to suffering, it is an invitation to awareness, because once you see the connection, you can begin to influence it. The body operates as a network, not isolated parts. Hormones talk to the immune system. The immune system communicates with the gut. The gut influences systemic inflammation, and inflammation determines how your joints feel when you climb stairs, lift groceries, or rise from a chair. Understanding this network changes everything. Instead of chasing symptoms with temporary relief, you begin asking deeper questions about root causes. What is fueling the inflammatory fire? What lifestyle habits amplify it? What nutritional patterns calm it? Chronic joint pain often feels like a mystery, but it is rarely random. It reflects cumulative patterns: years of stress, dietary triggers, sleep disruption, environmental exposures, and hormonal transitions. The remarkable truth is that the same body that creates inflammation also holds the capacity to regulate it. When you support hormonal balance through sleep, strength training, nutrient-dense foods, and stress management, you reinforce your internal anti-inflammatory systems. When you nourish your gut microbiome, you reduce immune overactivation. When you move consistently but intelligently, you stimulate circulation and joint lubrication. You are not powerless in this process. You are a participant in it. And the moment you shift from frustration to understanding, from resignation to strategy, you step into control. Your joints are not simply aging, they are responding. Your hormones are not disappearing, they are recalibrating. And your future mobility is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices you make starting now. But here is where the story deepens, and perhaps becomes more unsettling, because hormones are only one part of the equation. Beneath the surface of stiff knees and aching hands lies a hidden battlefield that most people never see. The immune system, designed to defend and protect, can become chronically activated when the body senses persistent internal threats. One of the most overlooked contributors to this activation is increased gut permeability, often referred to as leaky gut. The lining of the digestive tract is meant to function as a selective barrier, allowing nutrients to pass into the bloodstream while blocking toxins, undigested food particles, and harmful microbes. When that barrier weakens due to stress, processed foods, alcohol overuse, medications, or chronic inflammation, tiny gaps can form. Through those gaps, inflammatory triggers may slip into circulation, provoking immune responses that extend far beyond the gut itself. The immune system does not distinguish between a true external invader and a harmless particle that should have stayed contained. It reacts with force. That reaction releases cytokines and inflammatory chemicals that travel through the bloodstream, eventually reaching joint tissues already vulnerable due to hormonal decline. What follows can feel confusing and unpredictable. Some days are manageable. Other days bring swelling, stiffness, and fatigue that seem disproportionate to activity. This is the suspenseful reality many face. The discomfort is not always about how much you moved, but about what is happening internally at a microscopic level. Autoimmune flare-ups may intensify during periods of stress or dietary indulgence, not because the joints suddenly wore out, but because immune activation surged. After 40, this cascade becomes more common because hormonal shifts reduce the immune-modulating effects that once kept inflammation contained. Estrogen and testosterone previously acted like conductors, guiding the immune orchestra to play in harmony. Without their steady influence, the music can grow louder and more chaotic. Chronic inflammation becomes the background noise of the body, subtle at first, then persistent. And here lies the turning point. When people only treat joint pain at the surface level, they may silence the symptom temporarily, but leave the internal fire smoldering. Anti-inflammatory medications can provide relief, yet they do not rebuild gut integrity or restore hormonal balance. The deeper work requires awareness and intention. It requires recognizing that the gut, the immune system, and the endocrine system are interconnected threads of the same fabric. When one frays, the others feel the strain. You might begin to see patterns you once ignored: bloating followed by stiffness, high stress followed by a flare-up, poor sleep followed by increased swelling. These are not coincidences, they are signals. The body speaks in patterns long before it shouts in pain. The empowering truth is that gut permeability can improve. The intestinal lining can regenerate when supported with adequate nutrients, fiber, fermented foods, and reduced inflammatory triggers. Stress management is not optional. It is biological protection. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, and prolonged cortisol dysregulation can further weaken gut integrity and disrupt hormone balance. The cycle can feel overwhelming, but cycles can be interrupted. When you reduce ultra-processed foods and refined sugars, you decrease inflammatory load. When you prioritize protein and micronutrients, you support tissue repair. When you incorporate movement that builds muscle rather than depletes it, you enhance joint stability. The suspense of chronic pain begins to fade when understanding replaces confusion. You are not fighting an invisible enemy without tools. You are learning the rules of your own biology, and as you learn them, you gain leverage. Inflammation is not destiny. It is a dynamic process influenced by daily habits. The connection between hormones and chronic joint pain is not a dead end. It is a map. And once you see the map, you realize there is a path forward that leads not only to relief, but to resilience. And your future mobility is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices you make starting now. The most powerful shift happens when you stop asking how to silence the pain and start asking how to restore balance. Because balance is the language of the body. When hormones, immune signaling, and gut integrity move in harmony, inflammation subsides to its appropriate level and joints regain their capacity to repair and recover. This is where responsibility becomes empowering rather than overwhelming. You are not required to overhaul your life overnight, but you are invited to make consistent, intelligent changes that compound over time. Nutrition becomes more than calories. It becomes information. Every meal either amplifies inflammatory pathways or supports anti-inflammatory chemistry. Whole foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, colorful vegetables filled with phytonutrients, high-quality proteins that preserve muscle mass, and fiber that nourishes beneficial gut bacteria all contribute to lowering inflammatory markers. Reducing refined carbohydrates, industrial seed oils in excess, and heavily processed foods decreases the burden placed on an already reactive immune system. These are not trends, they are biological principles. Movement also transforms from punishment into medicine. Strength training stimulates testosterone production, preserves bone density, and enhances joint stability. Controlled mobility work increases circulation and synovial fluid distribution, helping joints glide instead of grind. Even simple daily walking improves insulin sensitivity, which indirectly reduces systemic inflammation. Sleep becomes sacred, not optional, because deep restorative sleep supports hormonal regulation and tissue repair. When you consistently deprive yourself of sleep, you elevate inflammatory cytokines and disrupt endocrine balance, intensifying the very discomfort you are trying to escape. Stress management becomes an act of self-respect rather than indulgence. Breathwork, mindfulness, time in nature, or quiet reflection all calm the nervous system, reducing cortisol volatility and protecting gut integrity. Over time, these practices create measurable changes in inflammatory signaling. What once felt like random flare-ups begin to stabilize. Recovery becomes more predictable. Mobility improves. This transformation does not occur because you fought your body, it occurs because you partnered with it. Chronic joint pain. After 40, the hormone and inflammation connection. Explained is not merely an educational concept. It is a reminder that aging is not synonymous with inevitable decline. Yes, hormones shift. Yes, inflammation can increase, but the trajectory is influenced by daily behavior. The body is remarkably adaptive when given the right inputs. Even small improvements in gut health can reduce immune overactivation. Even modest strength gains can protect vulnerable joints. Even incremental reductions in processed foods can lower systemic inflammatory load. Progress compounds quietly before it becomes visible. There may still be challenging days because biology is dynamic, but those days no longer feel mysterious or defeating. They become feedback. They guide you to adjust sleep, refine nutrition, manage stress more effectively, or seek professional guidance when necessary. You step into a mindset of stewardship rather than victimhood. Your joints are not fragile, they are responsive. Your hormones are not your enemy, they are messengers adapting to time. And inflammation is not a curse, it is a process that can be influenced. When you embrace this perspective, hope replaces fear, discipline replaces frustration, clarity replaces confusion. You begin to move with intention, eat with awareness, rest with purpose, and live with a deeper understanding of your own physiology. That understanding becomes freedom. Because when you know why something happens, you are no longer trapped by it. You are equipped to respond wisely and consistently. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early. You are learning the rules of your own biology. And as you learn them, you gain leverage. Inflammation is not destiny. It is a dynamic process influenced by daily habits. The connection between hormones and chronic joint pain is not a dead end. It is a map. And once you see the map, you realize there is a path forward that leads not only to relief, but to resilience. And your future mobility is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices you make starting now.